Greetings, fellow Earthlings, and welcome to this tiny garage.
This is located at the flywheel side of the engine on bank 1. I know none of you are hearing a word I'm saying right now.
Greetings, Earthlings!
And welcome to this tiny garage. Is it this tiny garage?
If you're just joining us, then after a years-long rebuild of this Porsche Carrera's engine, having never driven this car, finally last week we heard it cough to life. So it's not running quite right, but it is running. But we're still not going anywhere because we haven't connected the gear shifter to the transmission, and we haven't even connected the transmission to the wheels, and there's several really important parts of the suspension that are just not there. So we're not going anywhere just yet. We probably should just get on with it.
Join me, if you will, on a magical journey to the clutch slave cylinder location. Just near the driver's side rear wheel. There it is right there. And that hole is where the clutch release lever releases the clutch on behalf of your foot. First mission is to remove the old clutch slave cylinder. 13mm on that, catching the green goo. Now I did attach the new clutch slave cylinder, feeling lucky, and then just push it into position. It has kind of a spring-loaded nature to it. And then I found that bracket to kind of be in the way, so I took the bracket off with a couple of 13mm. Once it is in position, I tried to get a bolt into it, and that worked. It's a 13mm, both of those going to 23 Newton meters. Using a universal joint to try to make that work, but it's not that bad. Once you kind of get into position, it's awful, but it's doable. Now, this clip, I'm just really making a bad mistake. That coil needs to go on the rear side of the car, and then it fits. That problem comes from it being 10 months. I don't know how long it is since I took that off. I ended up looking at a photograph of one of my own videos and realized that that's how it goes. Next up then, we need to join the gear shift cables. I'm using this block of wood and this grenade just to keep that drive axle out of the way. The type of grenade doesn't really matter as long as the spoon is... The gear shifter mechanism has these two cables. One is longer than the other, you can't get them mixed up. First off, I'm just pushing it into the frame that is on the transmission. And then the very end of it just pops onto this ball. And you put the clips in, and that's it.
Rear axle cross braces, anyone? There they are. It's that pair of diagonal braces laid on the floor, kind of in the orientation they go in the car. They attach behind the wheel arches in the front. That little knob just goes through a hole. That knob jewel has a threaded bolt that attaches to the car with a 15mm, and it bolts to the lower subframe in the back. For now, I'm putting these brace bolts in loosely as we have some scissor lift ballet coming up. Here's the cross brace for the passenger side, same kind of dealio. Next on the list is this super shiny reinforcing brace. The top is kind of flat. I don't really think it has a left or a right, and just a couple of 15mm holding that puppy in place. And we can go ahead and torque the reinforcing brace to 45 Newton meters right now.
Hold on, what's the dog doing? Oh yeah, subscribe now. Delta says thank you.
Rounding out our rear suspension party is the rear stabilizer bar or sway bar.
It attaches to the lower subframe also with these 4 13mm. And then on each side, it bolts to the sway bar end links with a couple of 15mm. Torquing those 4 13mm to 23 Newton meters. Then the 15mm go to 46 Newton meters, but you have to hold the other side with a 17mm wrench. I am marking all of those with a white Sharpie from David Gray, thank you again David, just to see if they moved, because that would be bad. Here it is time for our little bit of scissor lift ballet. We need access to the front bolts on the rear axle cross brace, and that little move there gets just enough space to torque those bolts to 65 Newton meters. Alright, done with that, we can go back up. A little bit of a stressful part over there. Finishing up here with a 16mm and 100 Newton meters on the rear axle cross brace to the lower subframe. That is the highest Newton meters of the entire build. This middle 15mm is our final one to tighten to 45 Newton meters. On the driver's side, I needed a universal joint contraption to get past that brake line.
Hit the notification bell, it's up there.
Yes, please. Here we are on the driver's side. We need to get this drive axle connected with all these H8 bolts. They're all connected to a huge 81 Newton meters of torque. You can see there how it wants to move, so I'm jumping up into the car and putting the handbrake on really hard to help get that up to 81 Newton meters. Here, I just started the car in first gear as I don't have a clutch yet. And yeah, it worked. And here, this is fourth. So fourth spins really fast. Now we need to bleed the clutch system so we can actually use it. Now you are really supposed to use this power clutch bleeding system. I found out about that really too late. I ordered one. It's not going to be here for a week. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm filling up this reservoir with the brake fluid we got at the Porsche dealer. My daughter graciously has agreed to help once again. She's now interested in learning to drive a stick. I wonder why. Now that is the bleeder valve. We're going to go in here and just open that up. Fundamentally, what we're trying to do is get all the air out and have it just be fluid. Now I am exploiting the fact that the car is up in the air, and that should help us, regardless of what happens, just get all the fluid that's in that reservoir flowing through so we get fresh fluid. Then also I'm having my daughter pump the clutch pedal to get those air bubbles out. Here we go. Starting it up here, and it's still running really terribly, but yes, I can put it into first gear. And then if I use the brakes actually work too. And then I can put it into reverse, no problem. Now the clutch fluid and the brake fluid is in the same place. So, fingers crossed. Now, because the engine is running so poorly, one of the things that people have been talking about is maybe the fuel is bad. So subscriber and member Edward Migliore mentioned that really you should empty out the fuel tank and that should help. So you need to take out the battery, and then underneath the battery you're going to find the top of the fuel tank, and you push that green button in. And when you push that button in, you can pull off that pipe. And then I'm using a piece of pipe that I bought when I was trying to figure out some vacuum issues. Now I'm using a piece of the switch from the explosive episode there. I cut up the micro switch that I used to ignite that conflagration to make these little tangs that I'm pushing into the socket for the fuel pump relay. Now, because I can't put the battery in there, I have some jumper cables here connected to the battery in the frunk. Now, when I flick that switch, hopefully the fuel pump should come on. Yeah, here we go. All right, well, that worked. Now, the fuel pump, while we're here, we should test it. You're supposed to have 850 milliliters in 30 seconds. So that black line is 850 milliliters. I'm timing 30 seconds. Still timing. Notice how yellow that petrol is. Not supposed to be that color. The fuel pump was easily able to move more than 850 milliliters of fuel in 30 seconds. I'm going to take that to mean that it's in good shape. All right, here we go. I am emptying the fuel. Each one of these sections is like 5 minutes. So it's about 2 liters per minute. Here we go, all done. One thing to mention is that gauge does not go down as you're emptying it. It's only each time you restart, it will realize that you changed something.
If you can possibly believe it, the heat shields brings us back to episode 2. This is the rear heat shield. If you're doing this, put the heat shields on before you put the mufflers on. You know, kind of obvious really. Couple of 13 mils on the top, couple of 13 mils on the bottom. The driver's side is exactly the same. Now we're going to put on the heat shield that goes over the cats in the very back there. That has 3 10 mils on it. And we're either tightening these to 10 Newton meters or not very much Newton meters at all. And this is the outer heat shield for the mufflers on each side. Just have 5 10 mils across the top of those and 1 inside the wheel arch. And you can see here how much more space you get over stock with these Fab Speed mufflers. I am told some people use that space for turbocharger paraphernalia.
I would like if you would hit the like button.
Rear wheel trim now. That's a little Porsche looking thing. That's held on with just 1 Phillips in the back. And then these T30s. That's now ready for the wheel arch trim itself, which fits together in like a jigsaw puzzle kind of way. Then it just has these 3 10 mils that attach it to the car. The rear bumper cover is getting tantalizingly close, folks. We've got to plug in that license plate light first off. More or less just pushing that in place, as you see. Sort of kind of clips itself in. Not used to having the bumper on there, not much space. And then that metal plate goes across the top. I'm using that hose removal spike to find and line up those holes before putting those Phillips head screws across the top. That's pretty simple. Here is the cardboard cutout that I made for all of these bolts that go into the bumper. Everything you ever wanted to know about the bumper removal is in episode 2 in much more detail. Right, here we go. We've got these little bumper covers which kind of adapt that bumper for the American style of license plate. Now we're just going to check that the fluids are where we left them. That's the oil. Power steering. I can see that the coolant is in between min and max. That's good. We can take it down off the lift. You know, it turns out that German Rubik's Cube in my garage is a car.
Okay, let me grab this hammer here and just have a conversation with the car.
You cock! No, Kelly Clarkson!
All right. Lovely. Now we are leaving the tiny garage tonight, one way or the other. My hair is perfect, ready to go.
I forgot about the handbrake. Ooh.
Here we go. Not a good start.
You cock!
Like I said, we are leaving the tiny garage tonight. Alright, better.
It still sounds like a couple of angry squirrels in my mufflers throwing their nuts around.
Alright, anyway, first gear. Here we go. I kind of hit something. There, and I'm not sure what it was. I did run around earlier and look around and make sure my exit was clear, but I also forgot I can't get out the driver's side, so that's not good. I did remember the handbrake, thankfully. So here, I'm obviously very impatient indeed. I'm having a look around, and at this stage, I'm thinking, you know, if I can't see it, and I can't remember what it was, I'm going to drive over it. Now I notice that brake repeater, we got some missing lights. Here we go, bonk. Oh, side mirror, gonna need that. Oh, that's that thing I'm driving over. Oh, there it is. And there it is. That is a wooden chock that I put in there 6 months ago and totally forgot about. Alright, so far so good. Didn't run over that man. Purring like a kitten with a hint of pneumonia.
Unfortunately, that's all we have time for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Till next time.